Let the elbows be soft and supported by the earth so the arms can be really relaxed. And without any strain, notice if you can start to allow the breath to fill the belly naturally. And you don't want this to feel like effort, and just a natural expanding and then contracting. And keeping your hands where they are and keeping awareness on the breath. Bend the knees and glide the heels in, letting the soles of the feet rest on the ground. And notice if the pelvis and the spine change slightly after doing that action. You can let the feet come a little wider, knock the knees in, and allow the spine to elongate. And if you're not sure how to do that, I really enjoy rocking the pelvis gently forward and gently back, and noticing the space when it feels almost like my chin tucks and my neck lengthens. The cervical vertebra mirror the lumbar vertebra, so if the low back lengthens, then the neck lengthens. Check in with the mudra of the mouth, the tongue gently resting on the roof. It's called Khetri Mudra. And imagine as the tongue gently presses against the soft palate that the sinuses are opening and you can take a fuller, spacious breath effortlessly. If you're still rocking the pelvis, find the place where the neck lengthens and pause there and notice underneath the hands if you can feel in that moment just a little bit of brightness or work that naturally happens. And again, it should feel so gentle, almost like your core just like smiled. And then without arching the back at all, notice the spaciousness of your next inhale. And to prevent the low back from arching, it takes subtle work of the core. So you might feel like the gentlest constriction of the breath, and it shouldn't feel like tight or limiting, but just that the breath and the core are meeting each other. For every bit of effort that the breath pushes out, the core gently pushes in, so they start to dance. When the belly still expands, it's just a little slower and gentler and more controlled. Take a few more breaths to play with that. And this is going to be the theme for our class today, and I find it easiest to feel on the inhale, so your whole focus can be on the inhale. What I'll guide you to notice, if you feel ready to pay attention to the exhale, is the exact opposite occurs. As the abdomen starts to contract, your core slows down that action, so it contracts slower and smoother and more evenly. So if the belly is expanding, the core resists the expansion. And if the belly is contracting, the core resists that contraction. And again, it shouldn't feel tight, it shouldn't feel strict, it should just feel conscious. You might even find that it's slightly energizing. And then take a moment to relax completely. Move the hands from the belly. If it's comfortable, keep the legs where they are, or you can choose to stretch them out in a mini shavasana and just breathe freely, cleaning the slate, letting everything go for a moment. And if you're following along with the musical playlist, you can hit play on the first track. We'll be playing with a movement from last week's class. First, we'll explore it dynamically, and then we'll bring in the dance with the breath to, as we hold the poses, just feeling how the inhale and exhale differ in each pose. So we'll begin by stretching the arms overhead. Let the next couple of breaths flow into and out of the body. See if you can neutralize the pelvis and spine just like you did in the last pose, finding that little bit of constriction and support. And then as you inhale, notice how that constriction slows down the expansion of the belly three-dimensionally, not just forward, but to the sides and to the back. And then also slows down the constriction of the exhalation. And the next time you inhale, start to glide the elbows and knees in, rolling onto the left side into the fetal position. And then use your next exhale to roll onto the back, spreading out, reaching out. Inhale to the other side, curling up. Then exhale to the center. And we'll take a few of these dynamic rolls, just starting to awaken some more sensation in the body. And imagine the body not completely solid, so it's almost like as you open into that X, you're melting and puddling out, and there's no dramatic moment when the arm lands because it's so gradual. And the next time you roll onto the left side, pause there, and let's take a couple of breaths in this same pose just so you can feel that little bit of, we call it intra-abdominal pressure that we've been building as our core and our breath dance. And so as you inhale, gently limit the expansion. And notice that sense of pressure in your center. Should feel light and bright and not intense. And then as you exhale, limit the speed at which the belly pulls in. As you inhale, limit the speed at which the belly pulls out, pushes out rather. Whenever you're ready on an exhale, open up to the X, pause in your X and take a couple of breaths there, noticing the same thing. At first, it's going to be most useful to have the pelvis and spine neutral. Eventually, it's totally fine to explore different spinal movements, but at first, we really need to do this to turn on the core. And there's no rush here, but whenever you're ready, use your inhale to roll onto the right side, taking a couple of breaths to explore the dance between the breath and the core. Your next exhale, open to the X, and now I'll leave it up to you. Take a couple more to each side, and if you want to move slow and take a couple of breaths, that's fine. If you want to move a little faster like we did in the first round, that's fine. I want you to feel what the body's craving. And one's not better than the other. Listening and responding to what your constitution's asking for, from what the day has demanded of you, and being sensitive, that is the best option. We'll eventually meet on the left side. You don't have to rush to get there. The next time you're on the left side, we'll add on our side lying Urdhva Chandrasana. So kick the bottom leg forward, the left leg, as if the floor is in front of you. Flex the left foot and reach the left fingertips in the space in front of the face. With your next exhale, slowly push into the invisible floor, letting the rest of the body start to open and stack. And then inhale back into the fetal position. We're going to do that a couple of times. We'll take the exhale into our side lying Urdhva Chandrasana. And then inhale to the fetal position. And then this is the most challenging action we've done so far. So if you don't feel up for holding it, that's okay. But open the door to taking a couple of breaths in Urdhva Chandrasana, noticing that intra-abdominal pressure. And notice if the inhale lets this pose feel lighter, because it is challenging. Notice if you can use that building of pressure at the center to take the weight out of the limbs. And then let's all inhale into the fetal position. Exhale to the X and take an extra pause at center. Relax, soften the elbows. And then we'll go through that same process on the other side. So with your next inhale, roll over to the right hand side. Kick the right leg forward, flexing the right foot. Reach the right arm forward. And as you're ready, use your exhale to push into the invisible floor in front of you to slowly open and feel how the arm and leg are connected to the core. It doesn't matter how far they open as long as they feel supported. And then inhale into your fetal position. Exhale, side lying Urdhva Chandrasana. And whenever you feel ready to explore taking a couple breaths in the Urdhva Chandrasana, you're welcome to, unless that top leg doesn't feel supported, right? If it's too much, then just stay to the exhale to open and inhale to fetal position. Whenever you'd like to come onto the back, you're welcome to, but there's no rush. And I want to give you just one more minute on your own. And your options are to just roll out from fetal position to X, holding anywhere and breathing. Option to add on the Urdhva Chandrasana. Or if there's anything else that the body is craving, maybe some effortless rolls from side to side, just take one more minute to be present in the body. And if you're not sure what to do, just stick to what we were doing together. That's totally fine. Can take a mini Shavasana. Sometimes when you're not sure, stillness is a nice option. And after you've balanced out sides without rushing, we'll meet on the back. Open the arms to a gentle T, cross the left leg over the right, and start to make some big circles with the knees, just massaging out the low back and massaging out the hips. Notice how the core has to work to lift and move the knees here, and then start to explore the building of pressure on the inhale, and notice if it makes it a little easier to lift the legs and support the hips. And then open the feet to a wide V and gently shake out the legs. Almost imagine like you're just like in a bumpy car and it's kind of like a kind of vibration. And then switch the cross of the legs and let's go the other way. And just notice the spiral line of the body from the outer right thigh up to the right hip. And notice how that opposes to the left shoulder. The left shoulder has to work a little harder as the right hip lifts. Check in with your Khetri Mudra. Close the mouth, tongue to roof of mouth, swallow. And then experiment with building some intra-abdominal pressure by inhaling and restricting the expansion of the breath in all directions. And notice if that changes how the hips feel here. And then open the feet to a V and shake out the legs.